still exists. That, of course, will. But a good story is always technically, one thing is technically on the bad side. By that I mean, good news is a rarity. Good news would be headline tomorrow, cancer cured. I have seen some headlines in my lifetime that absolutely thrill me. VJ Day, victory over Japan. VE Day, polio cured. I think of some others. Hurricane didn't hit. But if every person went to school today in Montreal and no school child was harmed and there was no school robberies and no incidents, that you couldn't do a headline tomorrow. School good today. It's not a story. So most stories are that which is away from the norm, and therefore most stories tend to be negative. That's been true since, I wasn't there, but I'll bet it was true of the Revolutionary War.
What's your secret to getting people to open up in interviews?
I don't know. I know I'm curious. I know they know I'm interested. They know that I'm listening to what they're saying, and they know that I'm not going to interrupt, except if they really drag on. And they're going to get what they have to say across, and I will not interfere with my opinion. The kind of journalism that bothers me is the I journalism. There's no reason, in my opinion, for an interviewer to use the word I. I've no germane interest in using the word. I don't know why. If I've used it 5 times in my life, it would be just to say something like, I enjoyed your movie. But who cares? The I is irrelevant. I'm a conduit from the guest through me to the audience. I've always done it that way. I know the style has changed now, and there's a lot of popular journalism where the journalist becomes in the story. I never felt that. I don't want to be in the story. I want to find out about the story.
What do you think of Anderson Cooper's coverage of 80?
I think Anderson Cooper is sensational. He's one of the best on-the-field reporters I have ever seen, because he gets involved, but he never forgets the journalism aspect. I think he's terrific.
Wasn't it too much I? Wasn't it talking too much about himself?
He doesn't. He may use I sometimes, but he's what I call the journalism. He's a journalist who's passionate, and he brings passion to stories like that. And he's worried always about who's getting away with what. Now, we need what I would call investigative journalists. One of the great print journalists ever was Jack Anderson, who was a great friend of mine. He won Pulitzers, and he was there when Nixon tried to have him killed. They actually seriously thought about shooting a journalist. There's a place for investigative journalists. And a lot of war correspondents. Anderson's a great correspondent, a great field correspondent. And when you're in the field, I've never been a field correspondent. I've been a sports broadcaster. So I've rarely in my life had to describe a fire. I've got it fairly cushy. I'm in the studio. So I don't know what it would be like to have been at Katrina and see failures firsthand and see a government not responding and not reacting to it. That's a different kind of thing. But in interviewing, I think the word I is irrelevant.
How do you feel, how do you handle an interview where you're given restrictions ahead of time?
I'm rarely given that. I'm trying to remember in my life when I was given a restriction. Ted Kennedy, his people, I never heard direct, didn't want to talk about Chappaquiddick years after it occurred. And the first time I interviewed him, so even though I try to be tricky and say, I know you don't want to talk about Chappaquiddick, but do you ever relate to it? And he gave me some sort of standard answer. But when it's long after an event and a death occurred, or I don't care about asking people about divorce and stuff like that, but it's been so rare in my life that someone has said, don't ask about this.
I was told not to ask you about certain things.
Oh, if you're going to ask about my future, because I don't know anything yet. So I hate to do that, but there's no answer to give. I don't know what. If I had something substantial, I would say it, but it's all up in the air.
Who's taking your...
And that's why I don't like to discuss things that are being discussed. Because it's unfair. It's unfair to me, unfair to people I'm talking to, and to reporters.
Like who's going to replace you at CNN?
Well, they know that already.
How do you feel about that?
I met Piers Morgan once. I liked him very much. We had a very nice morning together, kind of a little semi-press conference. He was very kind. I root for CNN. I'm going to be doing stuff for CNN.
You're mentioning the eye journalism. CNN is lagging in the ratings compared to Fox News, which is all about sort of eye and taking sides and being very loud. How do you compete against that?
I don't know. I've never ran a network, and I've never ran a radio station or a television station. I don't know. I know things come in waves. Things that goes around comes around. And today we're in an era of, well, you got 500 channels. You know, like CNN made more money last year than they ever made in the history of CNN. But they were running third in the ratings among the all-news stations. So you could look at it one way and say, well, they're sure making a profit, so a lot of people still have faith in CNN. When there's a major news story, people go to CNN. But if you want to rev it up and be exciting, it's not my kind of journalism. But I wouldn't know how to program against it. I give a lot of credit to people who try, but I'm not a programmer. I'm a broadcaster. I'm not a management person. It's a management problem.
Last question?
Maybe we can just address the Rick Sanchez issue because he brought up something that maybe offensive to you.
I was sad for Rick. I know he said he was tired and he was having a long day, but that was out of place. To call someone a bigot, that's a tough thing to call somebody, unless you had actual backup proof. Here's what he said, look what he said, look what he did. I know a bigot when I see one, and I don't think I've ever in my life publicly called someone a bigot, and I thought that was out of place. Jon Stewart has criticized Rick Sanchez and made fun of him. He's a satirist. That's what satirists do. So I feel sorry. I don't like to see anybody lose a job, but I don't think CNN had any other course but to do what they do. Okay, guys. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
That's good coffee.
This is for later. I'll be on the ground a little bit later. Thank you, Mr. K.